This is Kaylee Copeland with Equine Information Source, and today we are here with Catherine Willson. For 26 years, Catherine Willson has practiced equine law, construction law, commercial litigation, and employment law. She was a founding partner of Wilson Lewis LLP before moving in 2014 to Goldman, Sloan, Nash, and Haber LLP. Catherine is an industry member of the Ontario Equestrian Federation and holds a position as Honorary Governor of the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair. She is chair of the Risk Management Committee and a former member of the Finance Committee of the Royal. Catherine publishes extensively in Horse Sport magazine on issues of equine law. She gives conferences across Canada on equine law for Equine Canada, the Ontario Equestrian Federation, the American Association for Justice, the Jockey Club of Canada, and more. Catherine works with clients from many various sectors of the equine industry. She advises on contracts, syndicates, litigation, disputes, and tax issues related to horses.
Thank you for being here with us today, Catherine.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If clients or other staff members are not being respectful of protocols and are acting in a way that puts staff at an increased risk of catching COVID-19, can the staff exercise their right to refuse unsafe work in this scenario? What defines unsafe work in this new age of COVID-19?
Your barn is a private property. If a guest refuses to follow your COVID-19 protocols, you can ask that guest to leave. If the guest refuses to leave, you can make them leave. Call the police and they're trespassing, and you can ask them to leave. So you should empower your staff to enforce the protocols politely, and if they get some pushback from the guests, you as the owner could perhaps step up and say, no, we really mean it, this is happening. And if the guests still will not cooperate, you ask them to leave. Okay, because safety first in all situations.
Are employees required to work during COVID-19, or are they able to refuse to work?
Let's assume you have some staff that have been laid off and now you're bringing them back to work. They come to work and they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel safe. Can they just not work is the question. Do they have to come back to work? The answer basically is yes. Okay? If an employer says, okay, employee, it's time to come back to work, the employee pretty much has to go back to work. When can an employee say no? The employee can say, your safety protocols are not sufficient. I think you are putting me at risk. In that situation, as an employer, you should look at your safety protocols, investigate them, do some research. Are they the right protocols for your industry? Are you lax? Are you a little negligent? Nobody's wearing masks and we're all partying in the saddle room. Okay, that's a problem. But if your protocols are what they should be in the industry at that time, then you can say to your employee, no, we are doing what we are meant to do, what we are being asked to do, and you must come back to work.
Which authorities should barn owners turn to for verification regarding COVID-19 protocols? Does one group's word have more legal power than another?
I would suggest that barn owners should go to the provincial government websites and look at COVID-19 protocols and Ministry of Labor, employment, and everything should be there. Alternatively, you can go to your sport organization. Okay? And the sport organizations are being wonderful at feeding out newsletters for their sports on COVID-19 safe practices, employers, information. I would start with your provincial government and then I would go to your sport organization.
If a boarder's horse was injured or became sick because there wasn't enough barn staff to properly care for and monitor the horse, who is liable in this situation?
So I'm getting calls from boarders where horses have been injured, and also I'm getting calls from boarders at the very beginning of this with high anxiety because they can't go visit the horses. Horses not only are often close friends to their boarders, but can be very expensive. Many horses are athletes. They're not really horses, they're athletes. And the protocol was, a minimum standard of care, because the barns are working on, through the beginning of COVID, it's a little better now, but skeleton staffs, right? Just enough to kind of keep things going and keep the horses healthy but they're not getting their ride every day, and they're not getting their, other things. If the barn was lucky, and if you were lucky, if your horse was at a barn where that could occur, then your horse was fine. But a lot of places, it was minimal. You were lucky if your horse was getting turned out, and you weren't there. You couldn't see your horse, and then suddenly you get a call, and your horse is injured. Now, if you were going there 3 times a week, 4 times a week, and your horse got injured, it would be a sad thing, but you were at least there and part of it. But having not seen your horse for a month and a half, and your horse is injured, there's a whole unknown to it. And you're wondering, was my horse treated well? Was this because of a lack of care? Like, what really happened? And it's difficult to answer those questions. Because no one is there other than the skeleton staff that's looking after the horse, and it's a question of trust. So what I can say is, it's just like in normal times. If you entrust your horse to a stable, and the stable does something wrong, negligent, in breach of your contract of care, that causes damage to the horse, generally speaking, that stable would be liable for the damage caused to the horse. The difficulty there is, how do you prove that the stable did something wrong or negligent that therefore caused the damage to your horse? That's difficult in normal circumstances. In the time of COVID, when you can't even go and visit your horse, it's even more difficult. Okay, so the law is the same. The difficulty is in proving your case, because nobody's there and you can't be there. And a vet comes and you can't even be there for the vet and the horse. So the law hasn't changed. How we go about finding the facts, it's become difficult.
Thank you again for taking the time to do this interview with us, Catherine.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Catherine is currently writing a book on legal issues related to the horse industry that will be published in the near future, so keep an eye out for her name on the shelves. If you are in need of legal counsel, contact Catherine Willson at Goldman, Sloan, Nash & Haber, LLP.